and on the line is Tommy Fleming. And hello, Tommy, and welcome back for the third time to Australia and for the first time to Craic With Mc. Tommy, big thanks to Nelly from Sumac Media for organising this interview.
Sue is amazing. I'm telling you, I called her Wonder Woman this morning when I met her for coffee. I'm in Sydney at the moment, and in fairness, in one way she's Wonder Woman. And the other way, she's killing me.
Tommy, before we start talking, I'd like to just say how inspiring you are to me. And when I get down or frustrated, all I have to do is think of you and what you've had to go through in the past few years. Tommy.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's quite. Thank you. That's a very nice thing to say.
Tommy, you've brought a lot of trauma. For some reason, it's come into your life without inviting it in and without wasting words. It must have been a difficult time, but here you are on a tour in Australia.
Well, I was due to come over in. June.
That's right.
And I decided. Well, actually, the decision was made for me because it was. Well, I was going to still come over, but Marius and the whole team over here just said, "Look, this isn't going to happen because you're not in a good place after losing my parents, and you do not want to be that far away when you what the call hitting the wall. You do not want to be away from your family. You just need to be. You need to be around people that you know and that you love, and that will care for you, and that you will care for them if that happens to them." And it was the best decision ever. And you know something, Paul, I'm over here now, and I'm actually, even though Sue has me ran off my feet, I'm actually I'm really having a good time. The weather is fantastic. I cannot believe the weather is like this in autumn. But you know something, this time I have a good feeling about it.
The latest album, Begin, does that signify something in your career at the minute?
It doesn't signify anything in my career. It signifies my life.
Yeah.
It signifies, it's a very personal album, as you probably, when you listen to the lyrics of some of the songs, Begin is one of them. It's about getting through that dark place, and there is light somewhere. And a lot of the album is about grief, to be honest with you. And the one thing I've learned about grief is, and I don't want to get morbid on this, I'll only stay on the subject for a minute or two. The one thing about grief I've found is that I equate it to a fingerprint because it's unique to everybody. And everybody deals with it in many different ways. And, you know, anyone that's listening that's going through it, I promise, I can only promise one thing. It does get better, but there's no time limit on it. And time does heal. Time heals eventually. And, you know, it's got to the point where we now, instead of feeling very saddened when we talk about Mum and Dad, we talk about great memories and we've funny stories to tell. And it's just over a year now. And it's getting better. It's been a tough year. And, you know, I think the two of them are looking down on us, and they're giving all six of us a good 2013.
And to die within hours, like of each other, is very special as well.
You know, I'm a very positive person in life and in everything I do. I try and see the best in everything and everybody. And times, no matter how hard you look, you can't find it. But the times you do find it. But on a positive note, in what happened, it was fantastic for them to go together, but it was horrible for us. That's the only thing I can say on that.
In the late 1990s, Tommy, you were involved in a serious car crash that nearly took your life. And when you were brought to the Mater Hospital in Dublin, a very good friend of mine in Melbourne, Jerry Dwayne, had a daughter, Claire, who was working there at the time when you were in the hospital, and she was involved with your nursing, getting you back to health then.
I remember her.
Well, she was the first Australian nurse that they had in the Mater Hospital. And then afterwards, when you performed at the Irish Club with the Raman, she went to see you there with her dad, Jerry, and also Maria Ford, who was to support that evening to beat the Nan. So Claire is working as a nurse in Townsville, and I was telling her about you, and you were here, and she's up there also working. She did a wee job in Darwin for a while, but the memories of you then in the Mater Hospital are still very emotional and vivid to her.
Really?
Yeah.
And where is she now, Paul?
She's in Townsville, Tommy.
Townsville. Where's that?
Right up north, right up the I guess near Mackay, the top of Queensland, you know.
And I wonder we're playing anywhere near her.
It would be lovely, you know, because she went to see you and Denham when you were at the Irish Club with her daddy, you know.
That's a long time ago.
It is, yeah. And Mira Ford was there that evening.
Yeah.
And with that experience, Tommy, in your recovery, the good news was that the album Restless Spirit continued to sell and it reached double platinum.
It did, and I suppose I was going through a very bad patch too there, because I felt people were feeling sorry for me and just buying the album, you know. And thank God that wasn't the case. The albums continued to sell. I recovered very well, thank God. Through, I think, an awful lot of TLC from my mother, God rest her, but an awful lot of stubbornness and tenacity from me. I remember my father describing it once, for the Australians that are listening. He always claimed I was like an ass stuck in the bog, and the bog been there where you get the turf and all that, and you wouldn't get me out. So it was. I think sometimes stubbornness and pig-headedness stands to you in many ways, and sometimes it doesn't. So they both balance out.
Your daddy, like Paddy was a great influence in your life with his records and taste in music, I'm told.
He was actually. He had the most amazing taste, and eclectic is the best way to describe it. Because he would be, one night he could be listening to the Gallows Last Cayley Irish Band on the vinyl record, and the next night he could be listening to Sammy Davis Jr. or Barbra Streisand, and another night he could be listening to Jim Reeves. You know, so there was such an eclectic, and all those records are still in the house. And every now and again, last Christmas we did it, we all started playing the records.
As one of 6 children, you started to sing early in your life. Did everybody in your family appreciate you singing in the house?
They didn't really at the beginning. My parents did, of course, because I was, what do you call it? I was the baby, I suppose, and all that. And I suppose it's not until later life that they appreciated that what I did.
Was that when you get the wee band together, the 5th of February?
Yes, that's when I put all that together, and I was only 18 when I did that, and it kind of that was a huge thing for me. That was very interesting, because we spent months and months rehearsing all this rock stuff by Van Halen and this Guns N' Roses, Bruce Springsteen, Fleetwood Mac. And then we did one show, and I left.
So the passion for singing and playing music brought you a long way from Westport to New York, performing with Phil Coulter in the orchestra.
It did. It brought me. That's the door that opened. That was in the most. It was the most amazing door that opened for me, because it took me from playing in pubs and clubs in Ireland to 100, maybe 150 people that were noisy, drinking, smoking, to playing we say Carnegie Hall. 3,500 people, and I was proverbially thrown in at the deep end, and I had to learn very quickly. But in fairness, I had a great teacher in Phil.
And as you previously performed at the Boston Symphony Hall, I suppose the recent tragedy at Boston Marathon would have made an impact on you, Tommy.
It did, and I have great friends in Boston, and it was what up there was 9/11, you know. And when 9/11 happened, I couldn't get hold of some of my friends in New York, and those are the things that make you really think and make you really, I guess, count your blessings in many ways, because, you know, even though we lost Mum and Dad in March together on the same day, my mum was 82, my dad was 87. They had a great innings. They had a great life. And that's not an excuse, that's not a reason for anyone to go. And it doesn't make it any easier on us. But, you know, only a few weeks ago, my very close friend, Grania, who had a serious car accident, on a Sunday, had her life support machine turned off on a Tuesday. She was 42. And that to me is completely senseless. You know,
there's never an answer, Tommy.
There's never an answer, and the problem, Paul, is that when you go looking for the answers, you get angry.
And there's nothing can change the reality of what's happened. See, I grew up in Ardorn in North Belfast. I had lots of wives at one stage, losing friends and that. But your song, Through the Barricades, was a great way of drawing attention to what was happening in Belfast.
And you know, the funny thing is, I started singing that in 1985, and it was it was inverted commas controversial at the time. It was through the Thatcher era and all of that, and I still sing it to this day. And now I sing it. I changed one word in it as where it said as the guns begin to fade. I say as the drums begin to fade, because I do it at the end of the show. And I do it as a tribute to my mum and dad.
Wonderful. As well as flying a flag for Ireland as a singer, you've also had a great time as an ambassador for Ireland with the work in third world countries, providing food and Medicare and medicine for Sudanese children. Tommy, could you tell us a wee bit about that?
John O'Shea, who's the head of Gold in Ireland, which is the most fantastic relief. It's a charity relief agency for the developing world. And
how do you spell that? Is it G-O-L?
It's capitals all the way, G-O-L, as in scoring a goal.
Yeah.
And John is a great friend of mine. Now, we fight like cat and dog when we discuss what needs help and what doesn't need help. And like even at this stage, like, you know, he's still looking for millions to send out to Africa and to send to different places. Whereas, you know, my answer is look very closely to home, because Ireland is in trouble at the moment. And charity does begin at home, and there's a lot of homeless people and people losing their homes, and there's a lot of crap going on at home that really needs to get sorted, and I don't know how it ever will. But anyhow, I'm jumping from one subject to another. Working in Africa was a huge life changer for me. It was a huge eye opener for me. In that, I seen death, I seen hunger, I seen desperation, I seen repugnance beyond belief that I never thought I would see in my life. And I'm 42 now, and I look back on all of those things, and God forbid, touch wood, if I were to not be on this world in a year's time, I would hope that somebody would say in my eulogy, that would say, he lived his life.
That's a wonderful, wonderful thought, Tommy. In Ireland, we're very proud of the miracle at Knock, and many people had visited Knock and the Shrine Basilica where you performed. Did all of that inspire you when you performed there? It did, and I won't be hypocritical in any way, Paul. I'm not a hugely religious person at all. I've asked too many questions, I think, over since I was 18. I think what inspired me was, I'll tell you what inspired me for that. When the idea came to me in the beginning, it was solely for the purpose of the use of a venue, which was the Basilica, and that's been very honest. But what really inspired the show and made it as special as it was Monsignor Joe Quinn. And he was one of the most gentle, and he passed away there 2 years ago, and he was one of the most gentle, honest, down-to-earth human beings I ever knew, and he became a great friend of mine. Did the Monsignor reside in Ireland, or?
Say that again?
Where did the Monsignor live?
He lived in Knock, Monsignor Joe Quinn. Right. Yeah. He had his own place in Knock, right across from the Basilica. And I used to go and visit him, and Joe loved his little dram of whiskey, and I'd bring the bottle of Jameson with me, and we'd sit down, and I will never forget his words. The night we filmed that concert in Knock, we lost the electricity just before the show, and we ran the entire thing. If anybody's watching, when you watch the show closely, you will notice the back lights at the back of the Basilica are all off, because we ran the show on 2 generators.
Is that from the Voice to Hope DVD? Is that the one?
Yeah, we ran it on 2 generators, and then the people were held outside in temperatures of -12 and 13, because it was a health and safety issue. So there was a lot of agitated people the next day, and there was a lot of people ringing into radio stations with complaints coming in, and I tried to deal with them as good as I could. And I went to visit Monsignor Joe, and I sat down with him, and I just said to him, I don't know what to do. I was young, I was inexperienced, I never had to deal with something like this before. And the people that were supposed to be managing my career ran like into the dark of the night and weren't seen for weeks, you know. And I remember his words very wisely. He opened the drawer and he took out 2 glasses of Jameson whiskey, took a drink out of it, and he had put his hand over on my hand, and he said, "The good lady will take care of it for you." The good lady being the Blessed Virgin, the Virgin Mary. And
that's beautiful.
And I just said, maybe I said, but I said, you need to talk to her before I do, because I don't think she'll listen to me. And he said, oh, she'll listen to you all right. And it all worked out, and it's a Voice of Hope is the one that catapulted my career to where it is today.
And just after that, you received an award as the best Irish male singer in 2005.
Yes, I did actually.
So Our Lady did actually hear that.
I think she did, and I was nominated 2 years ago for a Lifetime Achievement Award, and I told them to remove me from the nomination because I didn't want to think that my lifetime was over at 40 years of age.
Tell me about this Mayo North that you're involved with a promotion there.
There's a thing going on at the moment called the Gathering in Ireland, which is they're encouraging people to visit Ireland from abroad throughout the summer, and it's, to be honest with you, it's to generate income for tourism, and there's functions and festivals and concerts and loads of things organised throughout it, and I'm the ambassador for Mayo and Sligo for the Gathering, and I'm the face of it. It's like L'Oreal, and I'm doing a one-off special concert with full symphony orchestra in the open air Lough Key Forest Park in Boyle, County Roscommon, and that's going to be way up there with the Silicon Knot, so that's going to be a special one. So
there'll be a DVD.
No, we're not filming it. It's just I'm doing a one-off concert.
Right. Well, tell me about all the albums and DVDs you've recorded and all the songs you've sung. What can we expect from Tommy Fleming in the future?
Everybody asked me that, and I was actually out. I was out with my good friend last night here in Sydney, Darren, who's the head of Universal, and he asked me if I had anything in the pipeline. I had one or two things, and I need to. At the moment, they're foggy, and they need to come into focus before I can start discussing them. I'm always, to be honest with you, my brain never stops. I actually have a notepad at the side of my bed every night, and I wake up sometimes with ideas, and I just write them down.
Being a happily married man, I'm sure being on tour is not easy, but the show must go on, and with talent and the career and the music, it's never an easy road, especially with what you've had to come through. Do you think music might have been a catalyst to all of what life's dealt you?
Possibly. I just do a job, I'll be honest with you. I mean, there's nothing special apart from the fact that I sing for a living. My brother works as a counsellor for a living. My sister works as a teacher. We all do jobs, just very different ones. Mine is very public. And my father had a great saying that was, we're all the same when we put our trousers on one leg at a time. And money doesn't interest me in any shape or form. And my mother had my mother and father were great for saying, so the Irish are full stop. But my mother used to say, somebody was on about, they bought this and they bought that and they bought the other and they've had so much money or whatever it may be. And my mother said, well, a hearse never came with a trailer.
We're very blessed to have you here in Australia, and thank you for taking time to talk to me and the listeners this evening on the show. And Tommy, good luck and good health to you.
Not at all. And listen, to ask you again, what's the name of the town that I forgot the girl's name again. Claire. What's the name of the town again?
It's Townsville. One word, Tommy. Town with an S. That's Townsville, V-I-L-L-E, and Queensland.
Townsville in Queensland.
Yes, she's in the hospital up there.
Yeah, you've no idea what hospital?
No, but there wouldn't. I'm sure it's a small. It's a relatively small place, Townsville, as far as it's not a city. I'd imagine, Tommy, there'd be one hospital in Townsville, and Claire or Dwayne would be easy enough to track her down. Actually, I'll be talking to your dad. He's my good friend in Melbourne, and he never misses your gigs. So.
Would you do me a favour, and I'll give you. I'm not going to give it to you over air, obviously. If you could get her number for me, and you've got the number here at the hotel. Sue will, Sue in.
I'll get it through to Nellie, from Sumac.
Yes.
I'll send it to Nellie, and that'll make Claire. It'll really make her day to get a call from you, Tommy.
Well, it would actually make my day more.
Great. Well, I'll ring her dad tonight when I go home, and I'll get the number for you, Tommy, and give it to Nellie.
That's so good of you. And listen, thanks for the call, Paul. Thanks for the interview, and thank you to all the listeners for being so supportive, for being there. And I'm so thanks to Australia for making me nearly an